Father, and the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. We are reading the stories, or the story, what happened. Not really, it's not a fiction, it's reality. What happened really happened during the 50 days or the 40 days after Jesus' cross, when he was crucified and put in the tomb. I want to go through quickly and tell you the story again, so you know. In the old times, the apostles would say the story, and people would ask them to say it again, and again, and again, and again. Have you ever had a movie or a cartoon where you wanted to watch it over and over again? Would you get tired of listening to it? Why? Because you like it, right? So the church never get tired of listening to the story of the cross and the resurrection. Never. We can read it and listen to it over and over and over and over again. The only difference between this story and the stories you see in cartoon is, it's fake. But the story of Jesus dying and risen is real. That's why we have a church. That's why we're here. If Jesus was not crucified and risen, you would have no church. We will not be Christians. You will not be here. So, I think it is the most important story ever. This is the most important story ever. And it seems like it's like a dream. When you ask the apostles, how did it feel like? It was like a sweet dream, most beautiful dream ever. And we lived it. It was real. And then whenever we remember it, we get excited again. And we say it again and again. So let's say the story again. So Jesus was on the cross on Friday of the Great Friday. And he died. And then those of us, the older groups, maybe 7th grade, we talked about Jesus died as a guilty person. And maybe the younger ones will not understand what it meant. He actually completely believed that he's guilty. And I said, how can that be? He have never done anything wrong. How can a person think that he is guilty when he had done nothing wrong? What is the solution to this riddle? For him to be at peace. I said that. I said, when you have somebody who is a murderer, somebody who killed many people, and knowing that they will be punished and they might be executed, what do you think they feel when they're going to the execution? Do they feel like it's unfair? I didn't do it, or what do they feel? I have done it, and I know the punishment. Give it to me. I'm okay. So why would Jesus feel this way? And the answer is, why would Jesus feel guilty? Really, he feels guilty. Why? He doesn't feel guilty because he had done it. He feels guilty because he loved us indefinite. Loved us to the end. He said, if they had done it, I have done it. If they need to be punished, and that's just, I need to be punished. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say, it's unfair. Like people say, unfair, Abuna, I didn't do it. Oh, Jesus did it. He did it. Those old of us, I told you this before. So Jesus had no grudge. He didn't feel like even his disciples owe him something. They owe him nothing. He did it out of his own love, of his own heart. Maybe your sibling does something, your brother or sister, and then your mother or father catch you and say, oh, you did it. And you say, no, I didn't do it. It's not fair. It's not fair, Mama. I didn't do it. I promise I didn't do it. But then Jesus said nothing of that. He didn't say I didn't do it. He didn't say I don't deserve it. He said I deserve it. Just give it to me. That's why he came out of it. No grudges. He didn't hold any grudge against anybody. And he also didn't think in his heart that he's doing his disciples a favor. He loved them. He did it completely out of his free will. And that's it. Done. So you see him in the resurrection. He's not rebuking his disciples. He doesn't really say to them something harsh. But he only did this with Peter at one point. I'm going to tell you how. So, the first day, we talked about this last time, when he rose from the dead, I can imagine this is something that not seen. And I think this is something about him. He's not a showy person. He doesn't really like to be known as God. He doesn't. I had a feeling there was a lot of work done that nobody had seen. One of them I think about, you know why we do a procession around the church? What's that? Where is that in the gospel? Was there a procession in the day of resurrection? Have you heard about it in the gospel that they were like the apostles making flags and going around the tomb and going around Jerusalem, Christ, Christos Anesti ek Nikron? There's not like that in the gospel. So where is that? What's that? Has to be something in the gospel that tells us this, that there was a procession. You know what was the procession from? To where was the procession? Who did the procession for Jesus? Yes? Palm Sunday. But that's not the resurrection. Yes, Jocelyn. You're talking, but you're not talking. Okay. No, I think the procession was angels. Angels were very busy that day. Imagine there's a great party, a great celebration, and heaven, and we forget about that. What were the two angels doing in the tomb? There were two angels in the tomb, right? What were they doing? What business angels have on earth? They don't belong to earth. What were they doing there? What was the angel interested in telling the women? He's not here. So what do you think angels were doing? And Saint Jesus appeared to Saint Mary Magdalene and told her, I am on a mission. I need to go. I need to go to my Father. Don't hold me. Why? He's going to the heavenly cathedral, the heavenly palace, where he's going to meet his Father after rising from the dead. So what do you think? How is that going to happen? You think he's just going to go there by himself and appear in front of his Father? Or you think angels are going to be with him? Absolutely. He's the king. He is the king. He is reigning. And he has to be celebrated as a king. What happens when a king enters a city? When a king enters a town or a place, what do you see? A lot of soldiers and people celebrating. It's like Jesus going to Jerusalem. Jesus now is going to the heavenly Jerusalem. So what will happen? Angels will have flags and very sweet, exciting songs. You can hear it in the tone of the angel when he said to the women, are you crazy? You're looking for the living among the dead? You're looking for the king here in the tomb? What are you thinking? What happened to your minds? He's not here. Why? I think because in the midst of the angels preparing for him to enter heaven, the women come crying and weeping and having spices, and they're looking for him in the tomb. Where is the body? It's going to smell bad. So the angel said, are you guys crazy? We're preparing for the greatest celebration ever. He's going to go into the glorious city, Jerusalem, in heaven, to meet his Father. And this is very exciting. The Father, the creator of the universe, is going to receive his Son, whom he loves very much, but he prepares for him a big celebration. That's why we do this. That's why we come. By the way, in the altar to us, we are actually play acting here. The altar to us represents what? Where the Father is. So the angels come from this, go through the church, and bring him back to his Father. That's the icon. That's how we do it. So this is what happened in the morning. That's what happened in the morning. That's why we have a celebration, and we think about it all the time during the 40 days. What was Jesus doing during the 40 days after he met his Father the first time? He continued to go up and down between heaven and earth and link the two together. And he continues to do that. He comes to us in the church, and we take him in the communion, and he goes up to heaven, and he's there ever since then. So that's what happened in the morning after Mary Magdalene visited him, or saw him. And then Jesus visited with two disciples to Emmaus, and I told you about the two disciples who were running far away, and they're very sad, and their faces were down. And Jesus asked them, what are you thinking about? Why are you sad? They told him the story of the cross. They had no idea about the resurrection yet. But then they went into the place where they were going, and they gave him food. Jesus took the bread, and he said, would Jesus say, Lord, who blessed the 5 loaves and 2 fish? Do you think Jesus would say that? Would Jesus say, oh Lord, who blessed the 5 loaves and 2 fish? Was he? No, because who is the one who blessed the 5 loaves and 2 fish? It's him. So he cannot talk to himself in prayer. Jesus would lift his head to his Father and say, O Father, King of the universe, who brought us food from the earth for our life, bless this food and make it life to us. So he broke it and gave it to his disciples. And the 2 disciples of Emmaus got shocked because they knew him. It is you, Lord. Once they started to think about talking to him, he disappeared. Then go back to Jerusalem. In the upper room, what happened? Jesus appeared in the midst of them, and he said, what did Jesus say? You know what he said? What did he say? He said, Erini pasi. Did he say that? He said, Shalom elakom. That's the Aramaic. That's how they understand. This is their language, the disciples' language. Shalom elakom. That's how they say it. But in the gospel, it's written in Greek, and it's written this way, Erini pasi. So do you know why we say, how many times we say Erini pasi in the church?
5.
A lot. More than 5. A lot. Every shwaya, every little bit, Abuna would say, Irini pasi, or, in English, peace be with you. Where do we get this from? From Jesus. Whenever he came, he said that to his disciples. Peace be with you. And then, after going and coming, one day he met with them, and on the first night he said to them, you think I'm a ghost? Do you really think I'm a ghost? Because I came back from the dead, and I'm here. How about you touch me? They touched him. How about you give me some food to eat? He said, oh, we have some fish, broiled fish. I don't know how many of you like broiled fish. They're not very delicious, but it's nutritious, I have to say. We have some broiled fish and honey. I said, fine, bring it. So they brought it. He took from the fish and ate in front of them. Can a ghost eat? No. Ghosts don't have a stomach to eat. They don't have any place to put the food in. The food will be taken if they can hold it. Put it there, it will drop to the floor because it goes through them. The ghosts don't eat. And then he proved to them in many ways that he's really alive with his body. That his body now is very special. That it can go through things and yet be touched. What goes through a wall like this? I'll tell you what goes through a wall like this. X-ray. Pizza? No. X-ray. Jesus, he said. Okay, right. So what goes through a wall like this is X-ray. When you put X-ray through a wall, you can come and see it on the other side. But can X-ray be felt or seen? No. So how can Jesus be like X-ray going through the wall, and then at the other side he appears and you can actually touch him? Is that something we're familiar with? Do we know anything like that? No, never. Never. Let's say we call it energy. Jesus becomes energy, like heat, but let's say that. You have a piece of wood or charcoal and you burn, it becomes heat. Can you have the wood again? No. So Jesus can be energy and can be physical to be touched. That's a miracle. That's the hugest miracle ever in history. He broke all the laws of physics. Physics tell us otherwise. Anyway, so appeared many times, and the last time since our last liturgy, I'm going to tell you the last story in the resurrection. It's a beautiful one. At one day, during the 40 days, toward the end, maybe day 38, 35, something like that, Peter said to his disciples, the rest of the disciples, his friends, guys, I'm going to go fish. We don't have food, and it's been a while since we went fishing. Why don't we go fish? Some of them might thought, okay, maybe Jesus will meet us. Why do we need to leave the home? They didn't say it, though. So he went. There were 8 of them. They went and took the ship into the Sea of Galilee, and they spent a whole night trying to fish. No fish. No fish whatsoever. Was before sunrise. Before sunrise, there's a little bit of light. You can see things, but not very clearly. So there was a little light before sunrise. They were all in the ship. All of a sudden, a person appeared with a little fire. There was a fire next to him on a shore, on the seashore. And then the apostles looked from far and said, who is this person? Somebody's camping here. Somebody's camping, and maybe it's cold for them. They're making some fire. Or they're baking something or cooking something. We don't know. All of a sudden, Peter had no clothes. He had just a little bit of a piece of cloth on his waist, because during fishing you get wet. You don't want to get wet, so you take off your clothes, and so that you don't get sick. So John was sitting there, and all of a sudden John said to Peter, "It is the Lord." John realized him. John is a very sensitive person to Jesus. He loves him very much. He can see Jesus easily, while the others take them some time. So Peter said, "What?" He said, "It is the Lord." So Peter took his cloak, put it on him, and did what? He jumped in the water. Jesus wants to know that it's Jesus. Peter wants to know that it's Jesus. He will do anything to get to him. He swam. Early in the morning, water is cold. He swam all the way to the shore. And he found that it was Jesus. Then the rest of them didn't know. I'm sorry, I missed something. Before that happened, Jesus called them from the shore. "Guys," they didn't know him yet. "Guys, do you have food?" They said, "No, we didn't. We've been here the whole night. No fish." He said, put your nets on the right side of the boat. The right side, left side, on this side, on my side, on your side will be on this side. Put your nets on the right side of the boat. So they did, and all of a sudden, it seems like all the fish in the lake came to the net. And then it became so heavy, they could not lift it from the water to the boat, they had to drag it. So it started to drag and row. Then John said to Peter, "It is the Lord." And then Peter said, "Really? Okay." So he put the cloak on himself, jumped in the water, and came to the shore. And the rest of them started to row with their paddles and then drag the net. They couldn't really pull it out. So when they came, they found Jesus, and he has some small fish barbecue on the shore. Barbecued fish. Do you think Jesus himself did it, or angels did it? Angels, of course, would serve him. Angels, they're with him all the time. He's the king. Have you seen a king cook a meal? No. They do it for him. So the angels actually prepared fish for him because he wanted to invite the disciples for breakfast. So he said to the disciples, "Come and eat breakfast." They all came, sat around the fire. They said nothing. None of them wanted to say anything because they're shy to say to him, "Are you the Lord?" They knew it was him. So they ate. And then he said, "Bring the fish that you got." All of a sudden, they brought the fish. It was a huge fish, like the fish of the big sea, not the small fish of the lake. And they counted them. They said it was 153. 153 fish. Why did St. John keep the number? I'll tell you one day, but not today. So they brought it, and then Jesus looked to Peter, and he said, "Follow me." And Peter stood up. As he's standing up from the breakfast, he looked behind and saw that John also is getting up, or the rest is sitting. And then Peter looked to Jesus and said, "What's this man doing? Why? You told me to follow you. Why is he doing this?" Jealousy right there. Jealousy. Peter is jealous. It happens even to the saints and to the apostles. Peter is jealous of John. So he said, Jesus to him, "What's that to do with you? I told you to follow me. What's your business to think about someone else? If I want him to stay until I come and not die, what business is that to you? You love me and I love you. Isn't that enough? Isn't it enough that Jesus loves each of us? Do we have to tell him not to love somebody else? You can't. It's not our business. So then Jesus told him, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, Lord, I do love you. He said, take care of my sheep. And he said again, Peter, do you love me? He said, yes, Lord, I love you. He said, feed my sheep. And the third time he said, Peter, do you love me? Peter got a little bit sad. Why? Why when he said it the third time, Jesus got sad? Because Peter, on Thursday, before the cross, did what? Said 3 times, I don't know him. Peter was afraid that they would catch him and do to him like they did to Jesus. He was so afraid that he actually lied and said, I don't know him. 3 times. When he said it 3 times, the rooster crowed. And it made a noise of a rooster. And Jesus had told him before the rooster crow, you would deny me 3 times. You would say, I don't know him 3 times. So Peter got sad because of that. Jesus told him 3 times, do you love me? And Peter answered, yes, Lord. You know that I love you. You know everything. You know everything, meaning you know what I'm doing. You know that I failed you. You know that I said I don't know you. You know that I lied so to protect myself. But I do love you. And the last thing he said, Jesus, to him, feed my sheep. When you were younger, when you were a younger person, you dress yourself and go and put and girded yourself, put a belt around your waist and go wherever you want. But when you get older, you will stretch your hands and somebody else will put a belt around you and take you to where you don't want to go. So when he got older, what happened to Peter? He was crucified. He was on the cross. What that means, to stretch your hands. You don't stretch your hand like this when somebody's putting a belt around your waist. It will be in his face. John, stand up. So try to act like you're putting a belt around my waist. Right here, put a belt around my waist. So you're going to have to be in front of me, right? I can't have my hands like this. What will happen to John? What will happen to John? He will not be able to do anything. So for me to have him do this for me, what should I do? Spread my hand like that. So that's how Jesus told Peter, gently, very gently, because Jesus is gentle, that you will actually be, what's that? Crucified. You will be on the cross. And true, Peter, in the year 67, Nero, the emperor, ordered him to be crucified. When they came to Peter to crucify him, that's very much later, maybe 30 some years after Jesus ascended. He told the soldiers, please don't do that. Don't make me like him. I'm not worthy. So what should we do with you? We're going to have to put you on the cross. The emperor said you have to be crucified. He said, turn the cross upside down. Let me be crucified upside down so I don't become like Jesus. In my death, I'm not worthy. I love him so much and I respect him so much that I don't think I'm going to be the same like him because I'm not like him. He said that. So what did they do? They turned old Peter, he was like maybe in his 60s or 70s. They turned him upside down and they planted the cross like this with his head down, and this is how Peter died. So Jesus told Peter that he will be on the cross gently, very gently. So that's how the last time Jesus saw it in the gospel, saw his disciples, and he met with them. He offered them breakfast. He told them how much he loved them. He gave them a job to be shepherds of the church. And that's why we have their successors. Who came after the apostles? Who we have in the place of the apostles today? Anybody knows? Who represents the apostles to us today? That Jesus commissioned the bishops. So Bishop Peter in our diocese represents Peter, John, Andrew, James, on all of them. So the bishops represents, that's the office of the apostles whom Jesus entrusted with the sheep. That's us. Glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God.